Still coming, are they? Yeah. No, that's right, that's fine. And the reason why we've given you notes is that we'd rather you didn't have to make notes yourself, that you can actually listen and observe, rather than, because otherwise it's, you know, it takes away from your absorbing it. So, this young lady, you need some notes.
Right, we've got fairly Germanic consciousness, so we're going to start on time, if we can, and we're going to finish on time. So you want no larking around, no messing about, just do what you're told, and hopefully at the end there'll be time for questions and things as well. But the thing is with these sorts of situations is that time runs away very easily, and our priority is really to get you to experience as much as you can within the time. So that's our aim. We usually have been very good at it, but you know, without many gets. But sorry, it's maybe a bit cool in here, but I think it's.
Yeah, I think it's pleasant. Yeah. So basically, Brian's recording, but he's recording us. He's not recording you. So don't worry too much. You know, as long as you don't put two fingers up in front of the camera or anything like that, would probably be all right. We might even be able to edit that out anyway. So.
What's it called? Where you jump in front of the camera? What's it called?
Stardust.
No.
Photo bombs.
Photo bombing, yeah. Oh. No photo bombing.
Yeah, and no Pokemoning either.
No Pokemoning, no. Whatever that is.
We just said we should get really old and wrinkly and grumpy, the fact that we were moaning on about Pokemon Go. Shows our age or something, or sanity or life.
Work the devil.
Okay, so basically our presentation today is about how to go about developing or expanding your own potential. Ooh, gosh, more people than notes. That's right. And also towards developing your spiritual potential, if you like, and that sort of thing. Now, we go about this, and there's a very rude word for it, but some people would call it upside down, back to front. Because the way that we, from as we've studied over the years and things like that, is what you're actually doing when you're developing your potential or you're working spiritually on yourself. Not to be going actually outside yourself, not to be reaching beyond yourself. But the whole point is that what you're after is already here. And the thing is, it's what stops you being aware of that, and actually what stops you getting to that actually we're looking at, and the notes we've given you are to do with.
So there are two ways to do most things, at least two ways to do most things. There's an outward way and an inward way, and they have different methods and different ways of working. The way of working outwards can get distracted very easily. The way of working inwards doesn't seem to be so interesting to some people, but actually has more value because it relies on the energies and the balance within ourselves. So particularly when working with subtle energies and strong energies like crystals, it is very important not to spin out on interesting outer things without making sure that you are grounded, anchored, and really well aware of what's going on inside your true reality.
So, you know, just as an example, and you can apply this to colours of crystals as much as anything else. We worked for quite a long time for quite a well-known based colour therapy company, and there were a lot of people that paid a lot of attention and gave a lot of worth to things that were violet, or things that were white, and things that were linking to the upper chakras, of saying, you know, this is what you should be doing, this is where you should be going. The thing is, if you haven't taken account of, or you're not willing to work with colours or crystals that are red, or as like Mike said earlier on, dark colours or browns, in other words, not looking at the energies within you representing by your second chakra, your root chakra, and things that are much more linked to the earth than that, it doesn't matter how much upper work you do, it ain't going to get you anywhere. You're not going to be able to actually manifest that skill or that knowledge that you gain unless, A, your physical body can cope, but also that you have enough energy and enough linkage into the natural world, into the physical world, to actually manifest it. Otherwise it just becomes ideas that just float in and float out.
We're inbuilt with two modes of function. We've got battery function, we've got mains function. If we use mains function, that's when we're grounded and anchored into the planetary energies, the energies of the Earth. That's when we don't run out of energy, because the Earth doesn't run out of energy. We're continually linked into the mains, we've got enough energy that we need. If we go to battery power, it seems okay for a while, but without any recharging of that battery, then the battery power can run out, and that's when we start getting physical manifestations of draining energy or illness or whatever. So it's always best, whenever possible, and sometimes we have to work on battery, but sometimes, generally speaking, it's always best to be continually plugged into the mains, and our mains is the planet Earth.
Unfortunately, the way we live today completely fries the energy, as far as our chakra system is concerned, the energy of the solar plexus chakra. Because it's the nature of how we live today. We live in an information-based society, for want of a better phrase, and everything is supposedly very logical. There are very definite views that people have, X, Y, Z, you know, and the further you live away from the equator, the less natural sunshine you get, which is another part of the natural input. It's the colour, the modern-ish Western colour linked to solar plexus is yellow. And so it's not a colour that you see an awful lot of in our clothes or in decor, and sometimes even if you do, people will avoid it. The original Eastern Vedic colour to do with solar plexus is red, and equally so people also tend to avoid, I mean, they're usually quite happy with the browns and things, but people will avoid red for lots of other reasons. And so it's very easy to become a bit like a balloon. You become very top-heavy with energy. The energy from the heart, the throat and the head, that's where the energy goes in your system, and which means that the energy below the waist is completely starved. There isn't a wholeness involved.
What happens when you've got energy up here is thoughts and beliefs and complex systems and planning and I know this and I know that, and everything becomes language-based, word-based, argument-based, rational, logical thinking. Or rational, what do you call it? Nonsense. But basically, we justify everything in our belief system, and we justify it with very good words, and it makes perfect sense to us. But it isn't reality. It's a way of trying to make sense of a reality that we are experiencing in an unbalanced way. Now, the more anchored and grounded you are into the planetary energies, the less one pays attention to the very sound and sensible arguments in your head that are just made up. And the more you get into your body sense, your body reality. Because it's no good believing the conscious mind, because the conscious mind is trained to make logical arguments. And you'll believe anything, whether it's logical or not. You'll believe anything if you can tell the story from beginning to end and it sounds okay. You'll say, yes, that's okay.
I'll just say, we've just had an example of that in this country.
Yeah.
You know, people say stuff often enough, the majority of people start believing it. You know, they get into that, oh, I've heard it, so it must be true.
There's no way of avoiding that. That's what the conscious mind's for. It's very used to using language to explain away why we should or why we should not behave in a certain way. And we will all believe it if we don't have any alternative, because it seems to be a logical thing. That's how reality is. Until you start quieting down and becoming aware of the other parts of energy that are not so language-based, and if you want to use the word intuitive or other words like that, intuition, deep mind, unconscious body, body-mind, those sort of things. Until you start allowing those things to come into your awareness, because they're not there. It's there all the time. Everything is there all the time. Like Mike says, all that weird and wonderful stuff isn't out there in the universe. It's everywhere else as well. The universe isn't out there. It is everywhere. We are as much the universe here as the universe is out there. So it's all to do with becoming aware of things at a much more balanced and holistic way. And that's the only way that we can start counteracting our own stories of goodness or badness or wellness or illness or competence or incompetence that we have in ourselves. And it's those belief systems at lots of different levels that are the only things that are preventing us from achieving that state of more harmony with the universe. Because it ain't the world doing what you want because you're a nicer person or you're more harmonised. The earth doesn't, the universe doesn't bend itself around our desires. It's got nothing to do with that. We become more in tune with the universe and we do things that happen in tune with the universe and flow with the universe. It ain't saying that I'm better than you, I'm more balanced and harmonised and spiritual than you, therefore things just fall into my lap. That's a very, very powerful thought story that goes through a lot of New Age stuff, and it's one of the most pervasive and pernicious ideas that you can possibly have. Because it ain't. That's super egotism. It isn't that. And I know Mike isn't meaning it in an egotistic way, but it's still there, and it's still a big, one of the biggest buggers there is. The last perfection before enlightenment is to get rid of all perfections. You're not wanting enlightenment, you're not wanting special skills, you're not wanting, because you know by that point, there's no point, because you don't exist. You have no existence in reality other than reality. So we aren't doing things to improve the world or make the world a better place. We're doing things to make ourselves a bit better, more harmonised, more balanced.
Within the world.
Within that, and that's what will create the thing. It's only a subtle twist, but it's an incredibly important thing to try and notice when your conscious mind is on that sort of evolved soul trip. That's when you've got to ground yourself and get real.
Yeah. And also find out if you do want to achieve something. It's not about saying out there that I want it. It's like looking at yourself and saying, what blocks are within me that are stopping that happening naturally?
So this is the inner and the outer, and this is the inner and the outer in all philosophies and all spiritual systems. For people who haven't got discipline and basically discipline, then the outer systems are used. Behaviour, do this, and you will not create havoc in the world. But people who've got discipline and the right techniques, it's an inner system where you work on yourself. And we're all, compared with most people in the world, people in the Western Europe, the most stupidest, the most intelligent people, and we know how to use our minds. So we are able to use inner techniques much better, except we don't have discipline, we're crap at discipline. But we have the intellect and the mind, so we know that we don't need to follow rules. And that a lot of things with the New Age stuff is, well, you don't need to do the rules because they're old-fashioned stuff. We don't need rules anymore, we're better than that. We are, but again, that's another big thought story. We are better than that, but we need to work on discipline and doing things and clearing the rubbish.
Yeah.
And clearing the rubbish is the only way that we will progress beyond illusion. It doesn't matter whether it's a
good illusion.
Good illusion or a bad illusion or a grotty little mediocre illusion. Illusion is illusion and is not reality. So what we're going to show you is ways that you can start clearing away some of the stuff, clearing the windows, cleaning your glasses, and seeing that those spots are not actually reality, they're just marks that you picked up and you haven't cleaned away.
Because the thing is, if you don't do this clearing, these clearing sorts of processes, and there's lots of different ways of doing it, we're just going to be showing you ways to do it with crystals. There are lots of ways of clearing. If not, when you try to move forward, you're taking all the rubbish and the crap with you. And it actually makes it a very heavy journey and a very, very slow journey. And the thing is sometimes the stuff you're carrying with you, you don't know you're carrying.
You know, because I'm saying, but you're all mad. And that is the state of the human being, isn't it? I'm all right. Everything I'm doing is perfectly normal and natural and the way things are done. Everybody else is just very strange. That's our biggest story. And that's really what we have to work on. We have to work on disengaging from that. We don't have to destroy anything or get rid of anything. We just don't listen to that stuff. It's never going to stop.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you are on the path, you'll still have rubbish going around your head because that's the nature of the mind. The mind is the mind. When we say the brain, the brain is the thing that thinks thoughts, whatever, and it's there to make thoughts. It's not going to stop making thoughts. It has periods of quietness and whatever, but it's down to your attention really. And you can't be quiet and you can't pay attention to reality if you have a lot of stuff that keeps on. If you haven't changed the oil in your motor, it's going to get louder and louder and louder the more and more you drive. So what we're doing really is giving techniques that clear your oil sump.
Yeah.
And your air filter and whatever else they do in cars these days. Carburetor. Carburetors.
And so basically, the first 4 techniques that we've actually given you on there are fantastic. We did have 30, but for some reason we've just got more people than. If not, if you leave us your name, well, you can read it tomorrow. We can run off some copies tonight. Oh, in which case you can nick off somebody who wants it tomorrow. And they, yeah. Yes. Yeah. And so basically, the first 4 techniques that we've shown you here. Now, these are fantastic because it doesn't matter what the hell's going wrong in your life. Whether you're aware of it, or whether it's something you think you've acquired over the last day, or whether you come to a conference like this and you're fine, you go home on Monday and you think, what do I do? Now, these first 4 are really, really good ones for you to do for yourself and for you to copy and to give to anybody else, because these are the core things. The first 2 get rid of, we sometimes call them hooks, energies from other people that are hooked into your energy system that shouldn't be there. If you're a mum with a kid under 16, tough shit. Because there is no way that you're going to get rid of that one, until that child, and then they might still, you're tapping in, and it's then when you say, you're grown up now. So, but for anybody else, these 2 layouts are really important. I mean, they got nicknamed dragon points a long time ago, for that reason. And they actually come from, they're linked into the meridian system of the body. So they're actually, they're linked into Chinese sort of techniques. And I think you can get an acupuncturist to do the same job. But let's face it, I'd rather have crystals on me than needles in me. Okay. Now, what we've shown you there is points initially on your back, where you put crystals on your back, and it is possible to do it yourself, because I do it myself sometimes. And that gets rid of stuff that's in the periphery of the body. Like stuff that's just stuck to your aura. It gets rid of that. So you can imagine that's quite a nice clean. But the second set of dragon points, which has got the crystals on the front of the body, they're the ones that get rid of the stuff that's really got in there. There's got in under the radar.
So they'll be, depending on what they are and how long they are, how long they've been there, they will tend to be more integrated into what you conceive to be your reality.
Yeah.
So it's, it's quite important. I mean, and these hooks and whatever's are not, it's not removing anything that is positive, supportive or helpful. It's just taking away stuff that is being dragged out of you without your permission or without your say-so.
And if you're in a really, really difficult situation at work or in your family, you might end up doing these once or twice a day, until eventually what happens, your body gets to do it itself. Because it gets to know what it's like when you haven't got anything dragging you down. And then it gets strong enough to think, well, and it will actually stop people doing it.
That's the one advantage of crystal therapy, is that using a few stones regularly, doesn't matter really what practice you do, but whatever you do, if you do it regularly, then as Sue says, you get more used to being who you are without the stress. And so it's easier for you to not take it on.
Yeah, and also if then something does get through under the radar, you spot it straight away. You think it's like, oh, I don't know what I need to go and do, I need to go and do so. And you only need to do 3, 4, 5 minutes. We're not talking 20-minute jobbies here. We're talking literally the body, the right thing, the right place, the body will do the work straight away.
This is the stones working directly on the body and the body-mind. So it doesn't matter what our experiences are in the process, whether it's enjoyable, cosmic, boring, nothing happening, dreadful, uncomfortable, that's irrelevant. All those experiences are just things coming up and going. It's just like ordinary life. What matters is that the body energies pick up on those points and the stones that are being, the energy of the stones themselves, and it does the work. The advantage with the way that we work with crystals is it doesn't matter what energetics or headspace you are in, the things will work. Your experience will vary, but the things will work.
And of course, one of the real bugbears is when you are in a very bad space, you can't think. And that's one of the reasons why we've given it on a piece of paper. And I have said to people before now,
Continually.
And it gets to the point you think, oh, I'll just laminate it and you can stick it on your
Staple it
kitchen
onto your
cupboard.
forehead.
Is that Dragon Points 1, Dragon's Points 2, and then the 2 others that we'll talk about in a tick, will get you out of those situations. But when you can't think, you need somewhere where you can read it, because you ain't going to remember it. It's like one of those things, like I say, the staple to the forehead sometimes is, for some people, you've got to do that. Until they get used to knowing when they're in that place where they can't think, which basically means all their energy's gone and solar plexus up. And because the solar plexus has also been compromised, there's no logical thinking, there's no memory. I don't remember what to do. Blah, 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 blah. That's when you have to have it written down. And certainly if you're working as a therapist and you have one of those days where it's really, wish you hadn't had one of those days, and you get home, and you've had some really difficult clients, apart from doing the normal cleansings you would do, if you still find you don't feel straight, this is the thing to do.
I think these techniques have really always been important, but these days, just at the moment, when the level of bombardment, media bombardment, whether you're paying attention to it or not, is pervasive, all pervasive. These techniques are a good way to strip away that nonsense or that. But it doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong what is being said. It's being said continually, everywhere, all at once. You need to have that energy out of your energy field in order to make any sense of real reality. So, it doesn't have to be that you've had an argument with somebody or something. It's just like something's on the news or something's you've seen in the newspaper or something like that. That's all it takes these days, because everything is so quick and so connected. Something can happen on the other side of the planet, and because it's vaguely horrendous, it will get on all the news channels immediately. And that will affect, even if it doesn't affect you directly, it's going to affect everybody around you. And it's important. The only way we can combat this crap and nonsense is to not react and not pay attention to it. Because there's no way that it's going to stop by itself, because it's making an awful lot of money doing that. The only way we can unravel ourselves or disconnect from the nonsense is to not be affected by it, and to
Or
make sure that we're not being affected.
or at least have it at a distance. You know, being able to step back from it and observe it without getting drawn in, which of course is very, very hard.
You can't, coherence, personal coherence is not something that can be easily measured in a person. You can't tell somebody how coherent somebody's consciousness is from their behaviour necessarily, because behaviour is a different thing. But coherent energy patterns in the deep body, people are aware of, and they will tend to want to be in tune with that coherence, that level of increased orderliness. And it's that increased orderliness that we can bring to ourselves in a quiet way, and we don't have to do anything else other than that, and that will have a beneficial effect on the environment. So it's not just helping yourself, it's helping everybody around you as well, even though they might not know it.
Yeah. So the first two layouts we what we nicknamed the dragon points, and they're for directly unhooking you from whatever's going on around you. It's got to be said that if you are in a difficult relationship, family situation or work situation, and you unhook yourself, be warned that the next time you come across a person who's used to feeling, and they can't, they're likely to give you an earful. Oh, no, don't like you anymore, you know, you change, you know, and you'll get it. You'll get it in the neck because you stop them feeling. But also that means you can think to yourself, yes, I got it. I got that feeling for once. The next pattern we've shown you is one that's sometimes called the etheric net. More recently sort of seems to come in as the carnelian net. And this is brilliant for getting rid of shocks and trauma out of your system. And it doesn't matter whether it's a recent shock or trauma, or whether it's something that's gone back a long time in your own lifetime. And this particular layout has been known for also unlocking blocks and traumas from way back on your family line. So you don't necessarily need to know what you're releasing, but your body knows.
Very, very rarely does one actually have a flashback or experience of what's going on. And certainly, if there's an experience of whatever the stress was, there's not the suffering linked to it. So you don't need to worry about reliving. You're not going to relive anything. You might have a memory of something, but it will just come and go.
Just come and go. And so the carnelian layout is really, really useful for getting rid of shocks and traumas. So in other words, the shocks and traumas are the blocks. They're the things that we hold in our system that actually stop us from our energy from actually moving freely.
They're the sort of the lumps in the road that we integrate into our personal story, so that we actually don't notice them eventually. They've always been there. That hole in the road has always been there.
And if the hole in the road suddenly isn't there, it's like, what? You know, it's like, you know, you'll notice the difference yourself sometime when one of those blocks has moved. Now this particular net is really quite important. There's been a lot of workshops and things floating about the last couple of years about releasing kundalini energy, developing kundalini energy, raising kundalini energy, do this meditation, do this crystal stuff, do these exercises, do this sort of yoga, and this will actually release this energy within you, right? Now, the tradition that term comes from, if you said to somebody who was a well-rounded teacher in that tradition, they'd probably shock horror, what the hell, and be really, really shaken if you said that you were actually deliberately trying to move that energy. Now that energy that they talk about is a natural energy that everybody has, and it normally lays dormant in the system. Usually you see it in diagrams at the base around the sacral area of the back. And the thing is that this energy gets going of its own accord, sometimes events will precipitate it. And certainly traditionally what it would be, you'd have a meditation master and would actually start the process off. And then that person would guide you as your life
Fell to pieces.
fell to pieces, and actually help you keep you on the straight and narrow until it actually got to a point that you were able to manage it. Now, when this is activated prematurely, it can cause all sorts of hassle. And one of the hassles is that as that energy moves, it hits blocks. It hits emotional blocks within the system, because the nature of the energy as it moves up the subtle spine, or the sushumna, is the life experience and blocks are like, the proper word is samskara, but they're like scars within that process. And the energy will hit it and then will react. Now, one of the things that the etheric net does is it actually helps to clear all that stuff away from your energy system. So when the energy, and it will naturally awaken of its own accord, it means at least then your life isn't going to go to pieces. Now, you talk to anybody who's actually gone through this process.
Just go to a loony bin if there are any loony bins.
Well, apart from the fact that with my therapist hat on, a number of people I saw sectioned when this happened, you know, and then they tried, because once the genie's out the bottle, there's no putting it back. You know, you can't go back to it not activating. Is that it's, I've lost my thread now. Yeah, if you talk to people where it's happened even under the guidance of a meditation guru, and they said they wouldn't wish it on their worst enemy. Because it's quite a substantial, plutonic, explosive, atomic bomb process.
So, you know, if you were to do a contract, the first question on the contract, your questionnaire would be, do you want total dissolution of your personality? And if you tick yes, then they continue. But if you say no, then you don't want to do anything to do with raising kundalini. It's not to do with a personal, individual energy. It's nothing to do with that. So if you don't want to be if you still want to be who you are at the end of your life, then you don't start messing around with those energies that are going to wipe out everything that you think is you.
So the trouble is that its glamour has been attached to it now. And there is this fantastic glamour, oh, this is what we should be doing, this is what I should be moving towards, rather than thinking, well, I'll just move all the blocks out of the way that's stopping it happening naturally. And that's by far the safest way of dealing with things, and not going after something. And it's just become one of those buzzwords, you know, when you get them every sort of 4 or 5 years.
It goes in a cycle of 40, 50 years, because everybody who's talking about spiritual things goes through everything. What have we not talked about for the last 10 years? And
well, let's find something else.
Something else.
Yeah. But, you know, so it's like, so we're looking at, you know, a DIY version of, but you're doing it from the inside. You're clearing the stuff that's stopping the energy flowing naturally. You know, and if then for some reason it gets awakened without somebody there who's actually guiding you, that normally it means that somebody will arrive in your life who knows a little bit about it and will actually be able to sort of at least stop you from being sectioned. You're all right there. I can see these questions coming in Quentin. Right, I can. Right, and the last of the 4 that we're going to sort of really talk about is the Earth Net. And it says what it does in the name. It links you back into the planet. It's very, very good for aligning muscles and bones and things like that. So it's physically it's very good anyway. But it's one of those that, you know, it's like even if you've flown to another country and you don't want to get jet lag, that's the one you take.
I wish I could that last week.
Okay, so what we can only do in a group, and this is what we're going to try to do now, is we set out, we've got 7 workstations, which means we'll do 7 people at a time for about 3 minutes. And what we'll do is we'll do the dragon points were the ones on the front of the body. Now the nice thing about that one is it's 7 crystals of the same crystal, but it doesn't matter what the crystal is. If you've got choices of crystals at home, you know, you've got little piles of 7, then down to intuit which ones you want to use. But not many people have 7 of the same sort, unless they're used to doing layouts like this. Okay, so it doesn't matter, you know, we actually find that things like, and we've got some with us now, is green of entering, fine. You know, Preselli, or even finer.
Yeah, if you want to show off it.
On your diagram, you've got green colours, and then you've got...
Yeah, but actually the words actually say any crystal, as long as it's the same. It's just that when they're very similar, and except that one person is on their front, the other person is on the back. The other way of helping people see the difference is to different colours. No. So if you have rose quartz, clear quartz, whatever, it doesn't really matter. You know, it can be anything. So what we'll do is, I think I counted 31, so we've got basically like 4 shifts. And what we're going to try and do is get through so everybody has a chance to at least experience that. So what I'd like you to do, if you initially can go in, if we take the first 14, so if you can go and stand by one of the workstations there in 2s, it doesn't really matter, it's just so that we'll have one person putting the stones on and the other person experiencing it, then we'll swap them over, then we'll move them all back, and then we'll take another 14, and we should near enough have everybody by then. Actually, I think we might even manage it.